Two Fallout spin-off games were released in between Fallout 2 and Fallout 3, both having the same name, Brotherhood of Steel, in them. Let's start off with the first one that came out in 2001, Fallout Tactics Brotherhood of Steel. Fallout Tactics Brotherhood of Steel, not to be confused with Fallout Brotherhood of Steel, is a game that came out in 2001. Fallout timeline-wise, it goes right in between Fallout 1 and 2, sort of, as the game is only partially canon. Well, a lot of it works there as actual canon. There's also a lot of things that don't work here and don't even fit into old Fallout canon, such as the Brotherhood coming from vaults and mutants having droopy-ass faces, and also cars working on fossil fuels. That's also a big no-no. Also the power armor, because while it looks cool, there isn't really any explanation of where it comes from, the way there is with other power armor. Like some is pre-war armor, for example. That's what the Brotherhood uses. They have pre-war armor, and then Enclave has their own armor that they've created, right? Where did this power armor come from? We don't know. It also kind of fucks with Bethesda Fallout lore too, specifically just geography-wise, and also this Brotherhood of Steel happens to take place in the Midwest. The basic plot is the Brotherhood split up. The ones from Fallout 1 and 2 that are in California wanted to keep hoarding technology and stayed bunkered down. The other group split up, becoming the Midwest Brotherhood, and they want to be out in the world expanding and recruiting. We start out as people recruited into the Brotherhood. The Midwest Brotherhood just kind of takes everyone, and I swear I thought this woman had a beard, but it's actually just a weird shadow. We get 5 companions plus our created character. Throughout the game, more and more companions show up, and they each have a tiny bio about them, and their own skills. But you don't really, talk to them. They are basically blank slates for you to transform. And, well, I set up my team. Towards the end, only those skilled in energy weapons seem to be good. They're just far better than any other weapon. Grenades are good too, though. Now, there are multiple ways to play it. I played it with squad turns, where I took a turn, and then they took a turn, and then I took a turn, and then they took a turn, and that worked out really well. But there are 3 different ways you can play it. That just happens to be the way I played. Tactically, I didn't feel like I was pulling shit off as much as I did in other tactic games. In fact, 9 times out of 10, I just went room to room like a SWAT team, taking them out, because unlike in other tactic games I've played, you don't know how many enemies you're up against, so I just always kept all my guys together, just going room to room like a SWAT team. And on top of that, you can't see them till you are close enough, and the maps are huge. So I found staying together almost the whole time seemed to work best. It didn't feel super satisfying, but it worked. And this is a different way to do it. I don't think it's bad. In fact, not being able to see your enemies till you're up there is an interesting way to do it. I mean, if you went into battle in real life, you often don't know how many people you're up against, and sweeping is probably a pretty good tactic. I just meant in other tactic games, I was able to do a lot more cool strategy and planning simply because everyone was on the playing field at once and I could figure stuff out. But again, I don't hate this, it's just different. Besides, there is some strategy, like how much range you have, or if you're crouched or not, or how many shots each person has per turn. There's also vehicles, which can be often handy and never need to be refueled or anything. So the gameplay loop for me is move a few feet, kill everything, heal, everyone loots everything, and then just repeat that. Do this over and over again till the level's over. Then you go to the base, you sell your shit, you grab a new mission, you buy your shit, and you go back to a level and you rinse and repeat. You do this over and over again till you've beat the game. I think it's 20 levels, and it took me about 70 hours to beat, which felt like a lot. I beat Fallout 1 in 50 hours, I think it was, and Fallout 2 in 65 hours, but Fallout Tactics took me 70-something hours, which is just a shame, because Of those three, Tactics was my least favorite. Don't get me wrong, I liked it, just nowhere near as much as Fallout 1 or 2. Our first act has us fighting raiders and recruiting people. Our second act introduces a new enemy, the Beast Lords. These guys train animals to fight for them, including Deathclaws, which, by the way, are still talking in this game, which should not be the case. That doesn't work with the timeline coming before Fallout 2, nor does it work with us being in the Midwest of the US. We can, however, recruit them and other races, but Deathclaws can't use guns. And super mutants, they're slow as shit and can't use energy guns. And ghouls don't use the same armor, and half of them cause radiation to your whole team. So that fucking sucks. That means the race you're gonna want to use all the time is humans, and that's it. Also, Deathclaws, based on what Fallout 1 said, are supposed to be mutated chameleons. But for some reason in Fallout Tactics, some of them have fur or go into heat, which also is not a thing that should be canon. Act 3 involves us fighting super mutants, and my least favorite level. See, General Bannicky, who was giving us orders to this point, got kidnapped, and we're told to go save him. And I thought he was kidnapped within that area, because the cutscene made it look like he was kidnapped within that area. So I thought I couldn't complete the level till he was saved. So I was going to in an area I was told not to go in because it was too dangerous. And this area was such bullshit too. I tried secret passageways, I tried cheap ways to break the eye, I tried driving over moats with an ATV. I did fucking everything for like 5 hours until I beat this area, and it turns out I wasn't even supposed to beat it, because even though they kidnapped and took him that way, he wasn't there, and I didn't have to do that. I could have just left the level. He wasn't rescuable in this level, but I didn't fucking know that. I thought I was supposed to. I was so stressed for 5 fucking hours doing that shit. I was so mad. But whatever, I know not to ever do that again. In fact, there's a lot I didn't know in this game, because a lot got cut out. Like holotapes, I can collect them, but I can't read the information on them or hear what they have to say. And that information explains certain things that have been cut from the game. Now, there are some interesting things in this act. We find a super mutant factory where they're trying to make super mutants in labs without the FEV, trying to cure their infertility. It's a bizarre lab with goop that can make noise and move, but isn't really a formed body. Anyway, we destroy that, and we also kill a Brotherhood traitor who joined the super mutants because he kinda thinks he is one now. Act 4 has actual towns and townsfolk, which is actually really cool because Tactics is a lot more linear and more level by level based than in RPG. So I thought it was going to do that all the time, and all I would do is fight. So when there's actual towns to go in and talk to and do little side quests, oh man, that was a treat. This particular town we're in here, because some people who managed to steal equipment from us, and we're there to get it back. And my favorite thing is you can feel the hostility towards us, how uneasy everyone feels around us, how they're afraid that we're going to take their kids away to train them to be soldiers or to harm them. And it really does a good job showing we aren't really the good guys. We're just an army fighting for power and control. In fact, at the end of the mission, we get told that we are crucifying the thieves who stole our shit, and we're fucking placing all friends and family of the thieves into an internment camp. Like, holy shit, man, we suck. I also kind of wish our last battle could be against the Brotherhood, like a rebellion, but no, it's not like that at all. So many places we go to, we aren't welcome.
Look, this place is bad enough with these robots. Last thing we need is you Brotherhood bullies moving in. Why don't you take your big brother tyranny somewhere else? I don't know why you even care about Great Bend. We don't have anything of value here, just garbage and fucked up robots. Why can't outsiders just stay on the outside?
And yeah, the voice acting has dropped in some areas, but honestly, there are still many talented voice actors here, like that guy we just heard, and Greg Griffin is also here, of course.
I can feel your energy pulsating within me like an out-of-phase inductor. Lead me to safety while my feet still obey my brain's electro commands. You must have been sent by his capacitance. I welcome your gift, Holy One.
In fact, every time we go into town, it's my favorite because it feels more Fallout to me. Like, I enjoy controlling a whole party team, but other than that, the previous Fallouts are just superior in writing, storytelling, missions, basically everything. Now, a new enemy type is the Reavers. They are these people who fight robots and try to use their technology. We even make an alliance with them if we can save some of their members. So we do save those members, and then we torture them for info and put them in internment camps. Now, as for these robots, there is a vault called Vault Zero, where instead of an overseer, they have a computer who uses human brains to run called the Calculator, and its brains are not functioning well, so it is now sending its army of robots to kill humanity, which the original purpose of the robot army was to protect humanity from whatever was in the wasteland when the vault opened up, but due to malfunctions, that's not what the robots are doing. These last chunk of levels see us fighting various robots while trying to get to Vault Zero and destroy the Calculator. Also, one guy who we saved way earlier in the game got captured, so we get sent to find him and either kill him or bring him back to get tortured so we can see if he told any of our secrets. And no, he didn't. He kept our secrets, and honestly, the fact he gave his life to keep our secrets makes me extra mad with our stupid Brotherhood team. This game also struggles with tone too, from being dark and gritty to over-the-top silly, and again, they can work together, but it doesn't work here. The key is to know when to be serious and when it's okay to be silly, and to never let silly overcut seriousness or you lose tension. This game not only doesn't hit that mark, but it doesn't even make jokes worth laughing at. Now, as for the general, he's just a brain in a robot suit now, and he is our final boss. He is underwhelming, but I'm glad we had a final boss. The Calculator is there, but it's just a computer and it really isn't the final boss. So we kill the Calculator and all the robots stop working like in the Phantom Menace. And that is Fallout Tactics: Brotherhood of Steel. And while there are many things I like about this game, and it has some cool concepts, it doesn't dive into them deep enough to be good, and there is too much that doesn't work. So Tactics, being only partially canon, works for me. If I replay the Fallouts, I might skip this one, but 1 and 2 are still a must. Now, before I get into Fallout Brotherhood of Steel, I have played this before. I'll show you my old thoughts, and then I'll throw in some new ones once the old footage is done. Fallout Brotherhood of Steel is the game in the Fallout series everyone pretends didn't happen. But out of pure stupidity, I decided this is the first one I'm gonna beat. Now, I have played a little bit of Fallout 1, I have played a little bit of Fallout 3. I don't know if I played enough to consider that I've actually played them. So this feels like my very first Fallout game. You can pick from 3 characters, but there's a lot more you unlock, so that adds replayability. Not that I will be replaying this game, because, spoiler, I didn't enjoy this game. The game's sort of like Ultimate Alliance, except for instead of a team, you just have one person that you choose. You could play with a second player, but who in their right mind would want to play this game? Now, another thing that makes it different than Ultimate Alliance, for example, is how simple the combat is. There are no powers, no special abilities, no light and heavy attacks, no grab. Just press X to attack. At least there were different weapons and such, but getting new weapons and armor felt so, slow, and also you level up so slow, it just did not feel enough. Most likely because they want you to replay a few times to fully level up, but I won't be doing that. So much of this game was mind-numbing press X to win, and while that isn't awful inherently, a lot of games do that. It is awful when that is the entire game. On top of that, the writing is so bad. It starts off with a dominatrix, which of course gets me super excited, cause you know me, but then it did not take long to realize that there was nothing about this game I could take seriously. I don't think the other Fallouts are this way, I guess I'm not sure, but I can tell you, this one feels like it was written by an edgy teen. Your dialogue options are so unnecessarily edgy and dumb. I swear to God, women only exist in this game to be called a bitch by your character. This game is so filled with edginess, and it's stupid. Of course you can cuss and have dark themes in games. I love that. But this is stupid. So many jokes are just like, oh, my balls fell out, or oh, I gotta piss. Like, okay, is having to piss a joke? And I'm sure, maybe, but like multiple times? The closest we got to humor is when this mutant was like, oh, I gotta piss, and then he pissed a lot. The joke, I guess, being that there's a lot of piss. And sure, I may laugh at that if I was 5 years old, but I have matured since I was 5. In fact, this game does not deserve to be rated M for mature, because it's not mature enough for such a rating. It should be rated E for edgy. And look, I don't know if I play as a different character, if that changes the dialogue options given, because I played as this zombie dude. A better reviewer might know, but I refuse to play this game any longer than I already have to. I already beat it, I don't want to touch it again. And there were so many final bosses. Every time I thought this was the final boss, it would pull a DJ Khaled and give me another one. And it did that for fucking hours. I'm not a religious guy, but I was praying for the game to end. I had to keep taking breaks from the mind-numbing boringness of this apocalypse, so I myself didn't turn into a zombie. Alright, well the game really isn't that bad. Like, it's bad, okay? But it's not. There's worse. There's much worse. So let me talk about the good. The vault. It's pretty neat. Harold is here, and I'm pretty sure he's in other Fallouts. Also, there are traders and trading stations sometimes. But also, you'll notice there's a ton of save spots. Not because the game is merciful and kind, but because it's so awful that to go back even a little bit and have to replay something, it might cause you to quit. On top of that, the whole plot is about finding the Brotherhood of Steel, not being in it. The whole game is sort of like Mario, where that's a weird comparison, but hear me out. The whole game's like Mario, where it's like, sorry, but the princess is in another castle. Except for in this version, it's sorry, but the Brotherhood of Steel is in a different, extra long pathway filled to the brim of pressing the X button. It's all about finding the Brotherhood, is I guess what the game is about. I started this game liking it alright, and maybe if it was shorter, I feel like I could say, oh, this game's okay. Rarely do I ever care how long a game is, but this one, I wanted to quit this one so many times, but I pushed through. Don't even think it was worth it to push through. I never will get that time back. Anyway, in conclusion, this game's alright. Okay, so I agree with all that, but now that I've had more experience with Fallout and with reviewing, I want to add a few more things. Nuka-Cola is not in this game. It is instead a real-life drink called Balls that is sponsoring the game. Now, I don't blame them for this one, as they were in a tight financial spot, and I'm sure they could use all the money they could get. However, an advertisement I will give them crap for is this. You can't advertise a previous game within your game and expect to have immersion. That's just not going to happen. On top of that, while it is Fallout in the name, the game has so much un-Fallout about it. There are no special stats, nor a character creator for said stats. And while there is a level up system, it is not separated into skills the same way old Fallout is. It's more like all perks. Each character has stats already built into them, but the game does not tell or show you these stats. And I didn't know that until I played as the Vault Dweller and found the game considerably easier than my first playthrough. The game also ignores any of the haunting atmospheric music of previous games and instead goes for an instrumental rock soundtrack, and I fucking hate this. Simply because of how wildly different of a feel it gives. I'm not saying you can't have rock and post-apocalyptic work, you definitely can, just that it doesn't fit within the Fallout series.
Back in line, slaves.
Wait, you can't do this.
Shut your mouth, worm, before I step on you.
And I will say, I do like the Dominatrix though, not just because I'm a sub and I'm into that shit, but mainly because I think often post-apocalypse and kink do go together. So many people in Mad Max are basically just running around in BDSM gear, and the post-apocalypse is literally all about power play and power struggles. Now I played as the Vault Dweller this time, which I don't like that he's in the game, but oh well. I played as him, and sadly it seems the unlockable characters can't wear the armors of the game. Stat-wise they can, but in terms of customization, it doesn't show up. There's no visual indicator you're wearing a different armor. You always look the same. And even more of a bummer is while I was playing as the Vault Dweller, I could talk to the NPC version of the Vault Dweller because he's just still there, even though I'm playing as him. The first act is us killing the raiders and the mayor and that dominatrix. There's tons of bad, stupid side quests like help this sex worker get her cat Mr. Pussy. And like I mentioned before, jokes about pee and balls and such are abundant. Now I will say yes, classic Fallout had a pee joke, and I found it humorous. NPCs in Fallout 2 don't move around a lot, and one NPC was placed in a bathroom, so the joke is that he always had to pee. This was more of a meta joke about that NPC being stuck in a bathroom due to scripting. The pee jokes of Fallout Brotherhood is just that a guy has gross pee. Now as to where Fallout Brotherhood of Steel takes place, somewhere east of Necropolis. And since Necropolis is in California, that means we vaguely have most of the USA it could be in. The best guess seems to be Texas, but this is just speculation and is not official. Another issue I take is Harold.
Oh, I remember Ruby. Put quite a scare into that little girl. Not on purpose, mind you. Sometimes the meat slides right off the bone, if you know what I mean. Oh, that was a wild time.
Not so much his existence being in this game, but that he's portrayed as a ghoul when we know he is not a ghoul from Fallout 1. I also don't think this game should have platforming in it, as it was for sure not built around it. This particular time, I got a dog, and I fought myself in the arena. I also have issues with the ghoul leader. His name is Blake. This big, scary fucker is named Blake. I also have issue with the name of the game. Other than this one Brotherhood of Steel member who dies shortly after you meet him, you never see the Brotherhood of Steel. On top of that, it's too close to the same name Tactics has. Now the plot after you find the Brotherhood man is that there are super mutants led by a general who are attempting to get into a vault because they think the vault has the cure for their infertility. The general is voiced by Tony J, who also did the voice of the lieutenant from the first Fallout game, and I mainly know him as the villain from the Hunchback of Notre Dame. Grey Griffin is also here, but at this point it's more surprising to me when she's not in a game than when she is in one. In fact, a lot of previous Fallout actors are here. The voice acting is for sure not the issue. It is the writing and gameplay. It's a very linear, mediocre game. As a Fallout game, it's awful. As a game itself, it's neither good or bad, it's just kind of okay, kind of mediocre, and I'm sure it would be more fun multiplayer, which it does have going for it, but it is unlikely I will find someone who will want to play this with me and not have my friendship with them ended. The mutant general then finds out there really isn't a cure, and he gets grotesquely more mutated and ends up being kind of a mutant all over. Kind of the way the master was spread all over the facility, it's that kind of thing. One of the biggest reasons to skip this game is it adds absolutely nothing new. You could skip it and miss zero information. This was the last Fallout game before the company went under, and the Fallout IP was sold to Bethesda, and this was a pretty sad way to go out, unfortunately. The final boss has too many stages, but his last stage is just fucking pathetic. I leave you now with the exciting footage of me fighting the last stage of the final boss.